Welcome back, everyone, to another story. And thank you so much for all of the support you've given us. We really appreciate it. And we wouldn't be where we are today without you. So thank you so much. And now, without further ado, let's get into the story. In a small, crumbling village on the outskirts of a dense forest on June 4th, 2025, at 7:45 p.m. a young orphan named Clara lived with her cruel stepmother, Evelyn. The village was desolate, with houses falling apart and a storm brewing overhead, casting a dark shadow over everything. Clara, only 10 years old, was frail with tangled brown hair and wide, frightened eyes. She clutched a tattered doll, her only comfort in this harsh world. Evelyn, tall and gaunt with a permanent sneer, had always resented Clara since her husband's death. One evening, as the wind howled outside and thunder rumbled in the distance, Evelyn decided she had had enough. She grabbed Clara roughly by the arm and dragged her out of their dilapidated house, through the gravel path leading into the dark forest. Behind them, the door slammed shut with a bang, echoing the loud crack of thunder. They reached a clearing where a deep pit yawned open, its edges jagged with roots and rocks. The air around it was thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating the pit's dark depths. Evelyn pushed Clara hard, sending her tumbling into the pit. "Go on, then," she sneered. "Play with the worms and snakes. Maybe you'll find some company down there." Clara screamed as she fell, hitting the bottom with a sickening thud. Her small body lay crumpled in the mud, her doll beside her, one glass eye staring blankly into the darkness. Above, Evelyn laughed cruelly before walking away, leaving Clara alone in the suffocating darkness. Hours passed, and Clara's cries grew hoarse as she clawed at the slippery walls, but they were too steep to climb. The air grew colder, and she shivered in her thin, soaked dress. Rain began to fall, mixing with dirt and grime on her skin. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the far end of the pit. Two glowing yellow eyes appeared in the shadows, belonging to a grotesque creature with matted fur and jagged teeth. It crept closer, its claws scraping against the stone. Clara screamed in terror, pressing herself against the wall. Just as the creature lunged, a blinding light flooded the pit from above. A rope ladder dropped down, and a tall man in a long black coat, his face hidden under a hat, descended the ladder. He carried a flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness. The creature retreated into the shadows as the man reached Clara. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice deep and resonant. Clara nodded mutely, too scared to speak. The man helped her out of the pit and led her to his sleek black car parked near the edge of the forest. As they drove away from the village, the mansion came into view, towering over the landscape like a watchful giant. Its spires seemed to touch the clouds, and its stained glass windows glowed faintly in the moonlight. When they arrived at the mansion, Clara couldn't help but stare at the imposing structure. "Where are we?" she whispered, still shaken by her ordeal. The man smiled sadly. "This is your new home, Clara. My name is Victor. I've been watching over this forest for a long time, and I heard your cries. No one else could hear you. I'm sorry about your stepmother, but I hope here you can feel safe." Clara hesitated, torn between fear and gratitude. She knew she couldn't stay in that village, but this place, with its looming presence and secrets, felt like entering a nightmare. Still, the alternative was returning to the cruel Evelyn. So she nodded slowly, accepting Victor's offer of sanctuary. Victor led her through the towering oak doors, and inside it was as if time had stopped. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through grimy windows, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten memories. The grand staircase spiraled before them, its banisters intricately carved, but worn smooth by countless touches from long-dead hands. High above, a chandelier hung suspended, its crystals coated in a thick layer of dust that sparkled like cobwebs in the gloom. Victor led her through echoing halls, lined with portraits of stern-faced ancestors, whose eyes seemed to follow their every move. Finally, he stopped before a heavy wooden door adorned with strange symbols that glowed faintly. "This is your room, Clara," Victor said softly. "It's up here, away from the rest of the house. It's very quiet here. I hope you like it." He opened the door, revealing a lavish bedroom with a four-poster bed draped in heavy velvet curtains. A dressing table stood in the corner, its surface cluttered with antique perfume bottles and a tarnished mirror. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating motes dancing in the air. It was a beautiful room, yet something about it set Clara's teeth on edge. Before showing her the room, Victor had warned her never to enter the West Wing or leave her room after midnight. Now, as she lay in the darkness of her room, listening to the wind howling outside, she couldn't shake off a growing unease. Around midnight, she heard a low, guttural chant coming from deep within the house. Her door was slightly ajar, and curiosity got the better of her. She slipped out of bed and walked toward the door. She hesitated, then pushed it open and followed the sound. The chant grew louder as she approached the West Wing. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on the walls, making the grotesque figures seem like they were alive. She gasped. "I didn't know anyone was here," she whispered, her voice trembling. Victor turned, his black eyes locking onto hers. A cruel smile spread across his face. "You shouldn't have come here, Clara. I saved you from the pit, but now you'll serve a greater purpose." With that, he turned back to the ritual, ignoring her presence. Clara wanted to run, but her legs felt heavy like lead. She took a hesitant step forward, then another, until she was standing right before the pool. She stared into its dark depths and saw her own terrified reflection staring back. The chanting reached a crescendo, and Victor raised his hands. Tendrils of shadow erupted from the pool, reaching for Clara like grasping claws. She screamed, stumbling back, but the shadows were upon her in an instant. They wrapped around her, pulling her toward the pool. Her screams echoed through the cavernous hall as the shadows dragged her into the darkness. Struggling against the shadows, Clara tried desperately to break free, clawing and kicking, but it was no use. They were too strong, pulling her relentlessly towards the pool. Her ragged breaths echoing in her ears as the liquid closed over her head with a final gurgle, plunging her into eternal darkness. Victor watched with a satisfied smile as the shadows enveloped Clara, drawing her essence into the pool. His eyes gleamed with triumph as he sensed her life force merging with the ancient power residing within. With a final whisper of thanks to the spirits, Victor allowed the shadows to consume him, surrendering to the irresistible pull of the pool. His body dissolved into a myriad of particles, joining the swirling vortex of energy within. As the last vestiges of Clara and Victor's consciousness faded away, the ritual was complete. The mansion trembled, and a faint glow emanated from the once ordinary stones, marking the spot where two souls had become one with the eternal darkness. The chanting ceased, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. The shadows receded, revealing the empty pool once more. The ritual chamber returned to its state of slumber, concealing its dark secrets once again. Outside, the storm raged on, but within the mansion, an unsettling calm had descended. The spirit, now nourished by the sacrifice, settled into a deep repose, waiting for the next cycle of darkness to begin. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the dusty windows of the mansion, illuminating the eerie stillness of the ritual chamber. The pool lay placid, its dark depths concealing the remnants of the ritual that had transpired there the night before. Outside, birds chirped merrily, oblivious to the darkness that brewed within the mansion's hallowed halls. The grand staircase stood bathed in golden light, its ornate banisters polished to a gleam by countless footsteps from a bygone era. Yet there was no sign of Victor or Clara. Their presence lingered like a phantom, a haunting reminder of the mansion's sinister secrets. The scent of decay and old magic hung heavy in the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of honeysuckle that crept in from the overgrown gardens beyond. High above, a spider crawled leisurely along a crystal chandelier, its delicate web glistening with morning dew. In the grand ballroom, a lone music box stood open, its melody frozen in mid-air as if the music had simply stopped playing on that fateful day when the mansion fell silent. Upended portraits lined the walls, their glassy eyes staring vacantly into the abyss. Among them, one painting stood out, depicting a stern-faced woman holding a single black rose. Her gaze seemed to pierce the veil of time, searching for something lost in the labyrinthine halls below. For those who dared to venture into the mansion's shadowy embrace, every creaking floorboard and whispering draught carried echoes of the past, weaving a tapestry of mystery and despair. The secrets of Blackwood Manor remained tightly held, waiting for another curious soul to stumble upon its hidden chambers and awaken the slumbering darkness that resided within. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you like this modern, scary story, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more.